Ayes. Oyez, oyez, oyez. Silence is commanded by this honorable commission. All those having business draw near.
Thank you, Sheriff, and you may be seated. I've asked you to be seated until the time that the pastor has asked us to stand with him for the invocation. He will do his inspiration first. And let me ask all of you now to check your cell phones, okay, so that they don't go off during this proceedings. As you heard the sheriff say, silence is commanded. And so I'd hate for the sheriff to go back home with your cell phone because it's going to take you some dealing to get it back. Okay, so please check it so that you don't interrupt as we go along. Thank you. This morning we have with us the Pastor Jeffrey Well from the Trinity Lutheran Church. Pastor Well was born in Yonkers, New York, and he earned a bachelor's degree of arts from Carnegie College in Brooklyn, New York. I got it right? Okay. Well, he fell in love with his wife, Kathleen, right? He has a Master's of Divinity degree from Carnegie's Seminary in St. Louis, Missouri in 1992. They have 2 adult children. Pastor Webb has served in congregations from Illinois to New York to Pennsylvania to Florida, and now serves Trinity Lutheran Church here in Savannah. And welcome here in the hostess county of the South. Trinity has become involved and assists in the needs and hearts of compassion ministry. They're also involved in backpack ministries for students at Windsor Forest. Trinity has a Lutheran church charity, comfortable dog named Liz, who along with her handler visits schools, rehabilitation centers, adult centers, as well as man-made and natural disasters to give comfort to those affected. Pastor Webb also served as a member of the Maritime Bethel ministry here in the county, where they assist the seafarers with their spiritual and physical need while in the ports of Savannah. Let me introduce to some and present to others, Pastor Jeffrey Well. The mic is yours, sir. Can you hear me? Is he here? He's not here? Oh, okay. All right, well, I thought he was. But see, that's the good thing about this commission. We got a built-in pastor. And so that having been said, we thank all of you for coming, and if you will stand with me with prayer. And after the prayer, we'll go into the Pledge of Allegiance with our Vice Chair, Commissioner Stone. God, our rock in a weary land, our shelter in the time of storm, we come with bowed heads and humble hearts. We come, O God, looking to the hills from which cometh our help, because we know that you are on the throne helping us in whatever we go through. We ask, O God, that you will give this commission the wisdom, the knowledge, but most of the understanding to take care of the business here at Chatham County, to make every life that lives in Chatham County and visits Chatham County more profitable and more beautiful. Bless us in our coming, bless us in our going. These and all other blessings we ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Stone.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated, and as you're seating, Pastor Webb, if you will come on and take the mic, and we still will go through your inspiration. And probably like the rest of us, I've got a note from one commissioner. He's stuck on I-16 in traffic.
Oh, yeah, it goes down to one
And
lane
the other
there.
you have problems finding parking space now.
Exactly, sir.
All right, so go right ahead.
Exactly. Thank you very much for this opportunity to
Sure.
to be here today and to bring a word from Holy Scriptures. From Philippians chapter 2. So if there's any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy. Complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. How wonderful indeed it is to be here today and to bring to you God's Word. I've been a pastor for 31 and a half years now, served in 6 different states. In one of those states, Pennsylvania, my congregation that I was serving there at the time had decided to do a ministry, felt called by God to do a ministry to immigrants and refugees. And so we had an Ethiopian assistant pastor with us, a pastor who really taught love and humility. He had been imprisoned by the communist regime for speaking the gospel of Jesus Christ 3 times. One time turned in by his own mother, and for doing such a thing. And each time he was released, he went out and he shared the love of God in Jesus Christ. And he did it in all humility before the Lord. And so I learned and I grew a lot from him. He told me that he learned a lot from me about being a pastor in America, because it's very different from being a pastor in a third world nation. And then eventually I have come to be here in Savannah. And here in Savannah, we have a great opportunity to meet the needs of people. There are so many people in needs. The congregation I serve, Trinity Lutheran Church on the south side there, that is a congregation that has opened up hearts of compassion during the pandemic. And in there, we've been able to serve people of all sorts of needs. Bombast Socks is going to deliver 200,000 pairs of socks, 800 boxes to us in the fall in order to meet the needs of the people in the community. And I've learned throughout my ministry, as I learned from Pastor Alamahu, about love, about compassion, about humility. In that congregation, we also served refugees from Nepal, people who had been kicked out of their own country and sent to Nepal, and then the Nepali government there didn't want them anymore, so the High Commission on Refugee Services from the United Nations sent them to Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where I was serving. And it was a great privilege to be with these people, to be with these humble people, and to share with them God's love, God's compassion. I learned how much that moves mountains, and how much in our own community here, in our own nation here today, a nation that really needs love and hope, to be able to trust people and compassion. And I found that in the true Christian church, that exists. And that's what we need to share, that love of God in Jesus Christ with other people, with people whom we come into contact with each and every day. As I wear this collar, and I don't wear it every day, sometimes I just wear a polo shirt. When I wear this collar, it's an attraction for people. Sometimes it's a good attraction, sometimes it's a bad attraction. They have all sorts of things to say to me about the church or about God. A lot of them are questioning. A lot of them are looking for some hope, for some compassion, for some truth in this world. And that's what God gives us in His Word. And for us as leaders in the community, and all leaders within the community, to be able to serve this community, having the same mind as Paul had, the same love, being in full accord and one mind. How difficult that is in a nation that's divided, a state that's divided, a county that's divided, amongst so many different lines. To sit there as leaders and to be servant leaders to the sheep that are out there. I serve as an under-shepherd, sometimes as a sheep also to the great shepherd, Jesus Christ. But I serve nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility. Count others more significant than yourself, than myself. And that's what we do as leaders here. You know, that's what inspires me each and every day, the humility of Jesus Christ. As he goes on, having the same mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. And not all Christians today act like that. Not all churches, not the church throughout the ages has always acted like that. But God has formed us, he has shaped us, he has molded us, and his true church has always survived. And it survives today. It survives here in Chatham County, here in the city of Savannah, where there are so many bright lights, sharing that love, having that compassion with people. I want to encourage each and every one of us here today to have that same mind of Paul, to have the same mind of Jesus Christ, who was willing to submit himself and humbly go on the cross. Why? Because he loves us. He cares about us. He cares about each and every one of us. That God's word tells us that he even knows the number of hairs that are upon our head. For those of us who are losing our hair, for those who have lost our hair, he even knows how many hairs are not on our heads. But he knows everything about us, inside and out. And he's shaping us each and every day to be his children, to be his humble, loving, caring, compassionate servants, and to do it with great joy. I find great joy in the ministry. I hope you find great joy in serving this county, in what you do here, that you are serving our Lord. You've been called to this position, but you're also serving all the people who have elected you to these offices. And how great that is to be able to do that and to be a bright, shining light in this county. As I find it to be a great joy to be a great shining light in the South Side. To the homeless, through hearts of compassion, to the underprivileged, through hearts of compassion, through all sorts of people that stop through our doors. And John gave us a great vision in Revelation chapter 7, verse 9, which our congregation is looking to take on. That there John saw before the throne of God people from every nation, tribe, people, and language. And that's what the church should look like. That's what we look like as a county, as a community, as a state, as a nation. And that's what our Lord wants the church to look at, to be able to reach through all people, to cross all those boundaries, and to share the love of God that is in Jesus Christ our Lord. So that in this world that is so divided, this nation that's so divided, this generation that really lacks trust, they come across so many people that are just looking for hope, looking for someone that they can trust in. I want them to know that they can trust in us. I want them to know they can trust in the church. I want them to know that they have hope in this world. And that hope is shared by living Jesus Christ, by having that same mind, by living compassionately, by living with forgiveness and love, showing mercy upon all those people, so that they have that same hope that I have. They know that same truth that I know. And they are able to discern what is right and what is wrong, not based upon their own self-interests, but based upon the interest of God for each and every one of us. I thank God that I, who often fail in thought, word, and deed to be a good servant, have Jesus Christ as my Lord and am forgiven of all of my sins. So I have that ultimate hope of everlasting life with him in heaven forever. Amen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me thank you so much, Pastor Webb, for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Did we get that certificate? Is it over there?
You're welcome. My pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for your time.
We can't pay you, but we sure want to give you that as our appreciation for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today.
Thank you very
And
much.
thank you for your words of inspiration.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
The same
God
to you
bless your
now.
work here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Chester A. Ellis, Chairman.
Present.
Helen L. Stone, District 1, Vice Chairman.
Present.
Kenneth A. Adams, District 8, Chairman Pro Tem. Larry Gator Rivers, District 2. Bobby Lockett, District 3.
Here.
Patrick K. Farrell, District 4.
Here.
Tanya Milton, District 5.
Present.
Aaron Whiteley, District 6.
Here.
Dean Kicklighter, District 7.
Oh, no, you can go back to Commissioner Adams, he's here.
Kenneth A. Adams, District 8. Chairman Pro Tem.
All right, and Commissioner Whiteley will be joining us via Zoom. He's on. Yeah, I heard him answer. But I just want, let me have a motion to excuse Commissioner Rivers.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Properly motion and second that Commissioner Rivers be excused from this proceeding. Please cast your votes.
Yes.
Commissioner Whiteley votes yes. And let me ask all of the commissioners as well as all the everyone who is gathered here, start to say congregation. You know where I want. Yeah, last week when we were in Atlanta, Commissioner Rivers took sick and he's still under that weather. Let us keep him in our prayers, all right, as we go forward, okay? We're going to proclamations and special presentation, and I'm going to call on Commissioner Milton, who will lead us, and I'm also call the president of Delta Sigma Theta. She's here, or the representatives.
Chairman, it gives me great pleasure to read this proclamation to my sisters of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. My daughter happens to serve in that capacity as well. So the proclamation reads, whereas Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was founded on January 13, 1913 by 22 undergraduate African-American women at Howard University who wanted to use their collective strength to promote academic excellence and provide assistance to persons in need. And whereas Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a private, nonprofit organization whose purpose is to provide assistance and support in local communities through established programs. And whereas Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, a sisterhood of predominantly Black college-educated women committed to public service with a focus on the Black community, continues to make significant efforts to confront the challenges of African Americans and hence all Americans. And whereas it is a great privilege for Chatham County to celebrate the histories, contributions, and legacies of 22 young women and honor the founders of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Now therefore, on behalf of the Commission, Chester A. Ellis, Chairman, on behalf of the Chatham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim Saturday, March 11th, 2023 as Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Day in Chatham County, and encourage all residents to join the Sisters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in the commemoration and celebration of this day, which is dedicated to the sisterhood, public service, community, and civic engagement. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Chatham County, Georgia, to be affixed the 17th day of February, 2023.
Ms. Campbell, the floor is yours.
Go down there for a photo.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Milton. Good morning, Chairman Ellis, Commissioners, County Administrative Staff, and guests. I would like to ask all members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated who are present to please stand while I read my remarks.
They can come up to the podium with you.
Sorors, please come up to the
Yeah, they can
podium
come
with
on.
me. Thank you.
Some of them look real familiar, don't they?
As you have already stated, I'm Elaine Shavers Campbell, president of the Savannah Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. On behalf of 7 alumni and collegiate coastal Georgia chapters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, I thank you for designating March the 11th, 2023 as Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Day in Chatham County. In our respective communities of Savannah, Brunswick, Hinesville, Statesboro, and Waycross, as well as on the campus of Savannah State and Georgia Southern Universities, the women of Delta Sigma Theta are actively engaged in initiatives that focus on social action, youth engagement, economic empowerment, and health and wellness initiatives that improve the quality of life of the citizens. In doing so, we honor the 22 courageous founders of Delta Sigma Theta, which is the largest historically African-American sorority in the Divine Nine. Our celebratory theme on March the 11th is honoring our legacy and elevating our impact, celebrating 110 years of sisterhood, social action, and empowerment. On March the 11th, more than 250 members throughout coastal Georgia will convene in Chatham County to honor the sorority's 11 decades of relevant service that we're committed to elevating as we forge ahead. Again, thank you for recognizing the sorority's 110 years with this proclamation. We value and appreciate all that you do. May God bless each of you, and may God bless Chatham County. Thank you.
Thank you. They got someone to take it?
No.
No, she was someone. She thought, but they're not here with us. Glad you came? Okay. All right, I'll come then. Ask the sisters to come back.
Mr. Chairman, let the sisters know that's my birthday also.
No, he always trying to get brownie points.
Oh.
Some of y'all come on this side. Come on this side. And I'll be in the middle. Thank you. All right. Did I hear Commissioner Lockett say he'll take y'all all the Red Lobster that day? Now let us call on the manager.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to, at this point, call our Human Resource Director, Ms. Carolyn Smalls, to the podium, and we're going to recognize our employees who have, we're celebrating 5, 10, 15, 20 years of service with Chatham County. So, Ms. Smalls.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good morning, Chairman Ellis. Good morning, Commissioners. It is indeed a pleasure. It is always a highlight for me to be here and to recognize our team members who are celebrating a milestone with Chatham County. Being here today just represents one aspect of what you do every day. This is a point in time that we're recognizing your service, but we recognize you for what you do every single day. And we are honored and we're thankful that we get this opportunity to recognize you publicly for what you do. So this morning, I'm going to call each of your names and you will come forward and ask Mr. Kagler to please come down and he will present your awards. We also have elected officials, department heads here supporting you, and we ask that as your team member's name is called, if you would please come forward as well. And there's a photo opportunity for you. We like to capture that. So this morning, we have a very distinguished honoree with 35 years of service.
Wow.
The Honorable Michael Barker, Judge of Magistrate Court. Congratulations, thank you. And with 25 years of service, she can't believe it, right? Ms. Lisa Laurimore with Board of Assessors. Please come forward. And Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, our distinguished Clerk of Superior Court, Ms. Tammy Mosley, is celebrating 20 years of service.
Come on, hurry up. Everybody. It's my team, so they can.
Listen, we see.
Hey, bro, you should get up there. But you still can, yeah. That's Michael will present. But I'm not sure what happened. And with 10 years of service, Assistant County Attorney Andre Pretorius.
Where the twins?
They're my office, they are not coming out. You want this thing to go to heck? Do that.
And also with 10 years of service, Ms. April Worthy, Clerk of Superior Court. Congratulations. Yes. Now, we have a number of honorees with 5 years of service with Team Chatham. And first, we have Ms. Candace Blyden with the District Attorney's Office. We have Ms. Adrienne Darian Roach with Parks and Recreation. Ms. Siobhan Bailey with the Tax Commissioner's Office is celebrating 5 years of service. Now, Chief Hadley, I think you should just tee up because the next 4 are yours. Beginning with Sergeant Roger Flannery, Chatham County Police Department. And we also had, he wasn't able to be here, but Sergeant Timmy Gonzalez received a 5-year service award as well. We have Captain Kimberly Middleton, Chatham County Police Department, with 5 years of service.
Plus 28.
And Officer Brian Renner, with 5 years of service, Police Department. Again, congratulations to all of you for your service to Chatham County. We thank you for your service, and we look forward to your continued contributions to Team Chatham. Thank you.
From the commission, we thank you for the job that you do. Your job makes our job much easier. All right, at this time, we'll have coming before us Trip Towson, the Executive Director for Savannah Economic Development Authority. And hold it just a minute, Trip. Let me, there you go. Let me catch these folks, Trip, before they leave, okay? Let us recognize now our constitutional officers that are here. That's the sheriff, okay, and then the clerk, okay, and then our tax commissioner. I thought I saw the. Oh, okay. All right, I know I saw some, and I also saw a judge from juvenile court here, but they must have left. Okay, all right. Yeah, Judge Cole was here. I just want to recognize them and having them been at pre-meeting. All right, at this time, Trip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for having me here today. What I thought I'd do is give a quick update on the Hyundai project, and before I do that, any time I get to do this, I want to make sure people realize it takes a lot of partners to get this done, but Chatham County and Bryan County really stepped up to the plate early on before we even had a Hyundai project. And I just always want to remind people of that, because without your participation early on, this project would not have happened. So thank you again for doing that. So this is kind of the three-legged stool on this project, but of course, all of this is for Hyundai, but this is the partnership that really started the process last Christmas Eve 2021, when we got the first phone call that the project was an opportunity for us. So this is the logo that you're going to see all over the place for the next 50, 60, 70 years, however long Hyundai wants, obviously wants to be here. But it's the Hyundai Motor Group Meta Plant America, and this is going to be front and center at the plant, all over the place as they do sponsorships and give back to the community. But this logo was just created, and we're excited that this is what we're going to be able to see going forward. As a reminder, these are the facts about the project. I think the numbers and the investment will be higher just because of costs and everything else that's going on, but this is the first fully dedicated electric vehicle plant for Hyundai in the United States. They're investing over $5.5 billion in the plant. They're going to create 8,100 new jobs, and they'll also have $1.5 billion in investment from the non-affiliated suppliers. To date, we've cleared 1,700 acres on the site, and we've already started construction as of January the 9th. And I remind folks, the first site visit that Hyundai made in town was January 26th and 27th of 2021, as they're doing the site selection process. And to have this facility cleared and under construction under a year is a very remarkable achievement. That shows you how dedicated and quick Hyundai is. They have a saying in Korean, it says "pali pali pali," which means hurry, hurry, hurry. And every meeting that we have with them, we always hear "pali pali pali," and that's really their culture. And they really are very fast and make decisions quickly. All the permits are there for 300,000 units a year. With the 300,000 units a year, and they have the ability to go to 500,000 units a year if the market demands it. Speed to market was a big deal in the decision to come to Bryan County in the Savannah region. It is the largest economic development project in the history of Georgia. And then I'm going to remind folks over and over again, SavannahJDA.com is the website. So as you want, we put every other week we put an update on the website. We take vendors, people that want to work with Hyundai on the website, pictures, everything else. That's really the go-to for information right now. Also job opportunities, which we'll talk about in just a moment. This is a picture that was taken on February the 3rd. This shows you all the work that's taken place since August the 1st. When you see the cranes on the left side of the picture, that is the paint shop, and that is the most critical path right now. That is what takes the longest to build. Due to the weight of the equipment, they're having to put in a lot of pilings into the ground, and that's what's going on right now. All of the clearing is completed, and right now it's all about moving dirt. Mega Civil, which is a joint venture between 3 Georgia-based civil works contractors, was created for this project, and right now they're burning about 11,000 gallons of diesel fuel a day as they're moving dirt, and they've moved about 4 or 5 million cubic yards, and they've got about 6 million more left to move. And so they're going to be out there probably till the end of September, early October, as they complete the package. Here's another photograph. You'll see I-16 on the left, and then this kind of gives you a really good view of the size and scope of the project. This kind of gives you an overview of the site plan. I'll start by kind of giving you a description of what the factory looks like. And as the chairman and Michael will remember from the visit that we did to the Montgomery plant, this facility is going to be 3 times the size of what we saw in Montgomery, and you'll notice that the arrangement and kind of setup is similar to Montgomery, but it's going to be a lot larger. And of course, when you see the future facility in the back, that's where the battery plant is going. We anticipate that Hyundai will announce their battery partner hopefully in the next couple of months, and then that construction project will start hopefully by spring or summer. When you see everything in red, these are the Department of Transportation improvements that the state will be making. There's going to be a new interchange built on the east side of the screen, and then you'll see a road system that will parallel I-16 on the front. That'll be a 5-lane highway, and then it will tie into 280. And then, of course, in the back of the property, you'll see a south access road, which is Bryan County's responsibility. And then, of course, everything in the plant, you'll see all the activities in green, parking, assembly shop, paint shop, body shop, press shop, all those things that are essential to the process. And then there'll be a rail spur that is being constructed from G&W Rail way on the left, and it goes into the site. They'll be using trucks, obviously rail, a lot of different modes of transportation to send the finished product out from the factory. And so a lot of moving parts, as you can see. One thing I want to point out on the right of the screen, you'll see kind of it looks like a rectangle on top of a rectangle towards the red road. That's going to be the Quick Start training facility. Part of the deal with the project is that the state of Georgia is building the state-of-the-art $70 million training facility that will train all the workers that go in there. That's just one avenue. We'll talk about workforce in just a second, but there's going to be a lot of career paths for Hyundai as they get started, especially over the next couple of years, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. Water and sewer are a big lift that we have to provide to the project. This shows you where the water is coming from. Since Bryan County is in the capped zone for groundwater withdrawal, we're having to go to the green zone in Bullitt County to pull water. And so you'll see 4 wells that are being constructed in the path of the water that will go into the plant. So this is a big deal for the community, not only for Hyundai, but all the communities north of Hyundai. And so this has been in the works for quite a while. Of course, you got to have wastewater and a sewer plan. Working with the state and all of the partners in Bryan County, is going to be a regional wastewater treatment facility. You'll see at the top of I-16 kind of a star in orange. That's where the facility is going to be. And then, of course, as I mentioned, Chatham County being an essential partner, the city of Savannah has been an essential partner because they are supplying sewer service from the site into the city of Savannah system. And as I mentioned earlier, the partners that really believed in this early on before even Hyundai was there, Savannah was one of them, just like Chatham County. And so that shows you where you'll see the sewer activity, and that's another big lift that we're having to do for the project. So we talk about the JDA and how we're moving forward. The JDA, with the help of the state of Georgia, brought on Eric Johnson soon. As you'll know, Eric's a former architect, former state senator, former president pro tem of the state senate, and he's been great. He's kind of our point person on site that's working with Hyundai and moving all the dirt and overseeing the civil works activity. Karen Krupp has also been, both Eric and Karen are consultants, really. They're not direct staff of the JDA. But Karen has been in charge of all the folks that are moving from South Korea. she's in charge of placing them with schools, housing, and things of that nature. We have about 180 folks from South Korea here now, and we've got about 200 more coming. And so we really have, I don't know if you saw the presentations that Jean made from Montgomery, Alabama earlier in January, but she's providing the same kind of service that they provided, that the community provided for Hyundai when they went to Alabama years and years ago. And our most recent hire is Maria Whitfield, who has a tremendous amount of HR experience in manufacturing, and she's our director of workforce. And so the three questions we get constantly are where are we going to get the workers, where are the folks going to live, and how can local companies get involved with the project, the Hyundai project. So Maria is in charge of the workforce piece, and we're very fortunate to have her. And also, we've retained Wadley Donovan to perform a massive workforce development plan. We need the experts to come in and tell us what to do. And so that process is underway. There's going to be a lot of focus groups. I know that they'll be talking to the chairman and other commissioners, so stay tuned for meetings that are being scheduled. They're in town now, but they're going to be really in the community end of this month, March, April, and they will finish the blueprint, if you will, for workforce hopefully by the end of April. And Maria is going to be in charge of implementing that, and we're very glad that she's on board. The other question we get: how can local companies have an opportunity to work for Hyundai? So we direct them to our website. This is the form that they can fill out. We can't tell Hyundai who to hire. It's illegal. What we can do, though, is encourage that they use the most amount of local participation as possible. And then when we do get companies that, larger ones that have a chance to talk to Hyundai, we do that basically by arranging a meeting. But we can't go in there telling Hyundai, please hire this company. But we do try to, if a company's very interested in doing work for Hyundai, we try to make the connection so they can at least talk to Hyundai. But the best way to get the foot in the door is to go to this website, savannahjda.com, and fill out this form. And every week we turn the form over to Hyundai. Hyundai can, they look at it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but we can't tell them again who to hire. But we know that they are interested in seeing opportunities in the local community. And every time we meet with them, we say over and over and over and over and over and over again, please hire local, please hire within Georgia as much as possible. There are 58 bid packages that Hyundai will be releasing. They've awarded 11 out of the 58 so far for the plant. There's going to be a total of about 17 million square feet that they're building out there. That includes the battery plant. So there's a ton of work that's going to be coming as the process moves forward. And as we talk again about Maria, just some more highlights. She's worked in a lot of counties within the coast, and she's got 20 years of experience, and we're glad that she's on board. Housing, we're looking at doing a housing study. We know that New Hampstead and places like that are going to be kind of ground zero for the housing for the plant and things of that nature, and the suppliers, which we're going to talk about. But there's going to be more needs and more other opportunities to come. Pooler right now has been a very favorable position for the folks that have moved here from South Korea. They are leasing a lot of multifamily product, and of course they're putting their kids in various schools with the families that are here. So when we talk about the 8,100 jobs and the $5.5 billion in investment from Hyundai, we've got the suppliers that are also in the market. As of February 1st, we've announced 4 suppliers. I'll go through these quickly. On February 1st in Chatham County at the Savannah Manufacturing Center, we announced Soyon, which is 740 jobs. On January the 5th, Ecoplastic, which is going to Bullitt County, 456 new jobs, a big investment there. November the 7th, June, Georgia, which also went to Bullitt County, 630 jobs. And of course, November 23rd was the first one, Hyundai Mobis, which went down to Richmond Hill, 1,500 jobs, and a massive investment there. So as an update, while we're here, I wanted to let you know what's going on with Savannah Chatham Manufacturing Center as it relates to Hyundai. You'll see a kind of our blueprint or our plan here for the park. Right now, the first project which we announced is Igneo Technologies, which is a $110 million investment, 150 high-paying jobs, and that's where you see in the circle red That's where Igneo is going. And of course, 2 weeks ago, we announced Soyon, which is also going to be in the park. You'll see that circle there in red with 740 jobs. And then we have a third one that we're hoping to announce by the end of February, early March, that will also be locating in the Savannah Chatham Manufacturing Center. And so again, as I thank the commission for all the work they did with Hyundai, I can't say enough about the SPLOST vote and having this park ready for Hyundai and the suppliers and other projects. I can't thank y'all enough for your partnership with this park. Without it, we wouldn't be able to land these customers. So a lot of exciting activity in the park. This will show you what Soyon facility is going to look like, 600,000 square feet. And the other good thing, while we're very happy that these companies are supplying for Hyundai, they'll also be supplying for other manufacturers in the United States, and that's even better for us because that will have more job opportunities as the facility grows. And this plant will be finished by October of 2024. This is just a picture to capture Soyon when they were here. One thing I've learned from the South Korean culture, they love signing ceremonies. So every phase of the project, we do a lot of ceremonial signing, and this was just one example with Soyon. Again, as a reminder, as I finish, please follow us, savannahjda.com. Please go on to look at our photographs as we post them. All the things that are going on site, the bi-weekly updates, and of course, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach out to me as well.
Mr. Chair.
That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, let me ask the commissioner. I got Commissioner Kicklighter and Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on just a minute. Let me get the rest of them before I start. All right, I got Farrell and Lockett. Anyone else?
Myself, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wiley, are you?
Yes, sir. I'll
Okay.
stand by, but I have a question.
All right, I'll call on you. All right, let's go to Commissioner Kicklighter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Tolleson, thank you for that presentation. I've got a few questions and comments. I want to first state I'm glad you're here because coming up under items for individual action, there's 2 items here that today, number 3 and 4, that your organization and all is involved with. And I would like a little bit of understanding about this for the first part. You showed in your presentation that basically 4 major sites coming in as of this moment, but I don't believe that you showed this, or maybe you did here, battery as to allow alternative means of funding Southwest, Hyundai's electric vehicle and battery plant that you're proposing. That wasn't included in this today, correct?
That's in the manufacturing site. Go back to the picture of the manufacturing site.
That's not the Sayon or whatever here that you have listed.
No, this is for the Hyundai plant facility. This is not for the individual suppliers. This is for the
No,
main.
you just pass it. Go back to Savannah Chatham Manufacturing, and then who's going in there, right there.
Right there is for Igneo. This has the items on the action calendar are not associated with this project or the other project. It's for the Hyundai project at the Bryan County site.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Right here, you have 4 different things listed. And first, I'm gonna just go and say that from the great beginnings, Savannah Economic Development Authority. That's who we started out as, and I believe we still carry the name. That's correct, right? Okay, so you brought in, and wonderfully so, a $5.5 billion investment into Bryan County. Helped bring it in. The governor did a great job. Thank you. He's looking out for his state, which is very much understandable. Will there be smokestacks at that plant in Bryan County?
We have received a major source permit from the EPA, EPD for air emissions. It is a major source. There will be, we don't call them smokestacks, but there will be a major source of air emissions coming from Bryan County site.
Okay. How about the other 3 that you have listed, the 2 of them in Bullitt County and the 1 that you have in Chatham County listed on here?
I'm not familiar with the two in Bullitt County or the one down in Richmond Hill on their air emissions. The Igneo facility that you see circled here will have low source emissions, and we've received that permit as well from the state and EPA.
Okay. You stated that 5.5 billion will be invested in the plant itself, 1.5 billion will be affiliated with it. And I assume the affiliation will be spread, as you've already shown, throughout Chatham, Bullock,
Effingham, and
Effingham, and Bryan. What's the proposed value of this battery manufacturer that's wanting to locate in Chatham County? What's the value of that?
Right now, within the $5.5 billion agreement, represents about 2.6 billion out of the 5.5.
2.6 billion out of 5.5. And what type of zoning does a battery manufacturer go under?
In this particular case, in the Bryan County mega site, is zoned heavy industrial.
But that's for the Chatham County site, correct?
No, for the Bryan County site.
Okay.
The Bryan County site where Hyundai's going and the battery plant, they're
Yeah.
co-located next to each other. They have a heavy industrial zoning.
So it's totally gone now from the part of where it was previously going to go in Chatham?
The battery manufacturer, if I may, Mr. Chairman, to go back to another exhibit. I hope you're not getting dizzy.
Don't worry about it, we get there.
So this is the site plan in Bryan County at I-16. When you see the box in the back that says future facility, that's the battery plant.
Okay. Well, what was the proposal that had the city of Pooler as well as many residents in West Chatham so irate about?
So in the Savannah Chatham Manufacturing Center, first of all, as a reminder, we went to the MPC, I believe, in November to request a heavy zoning. Right now, we're zoned in the park as light industrial.
Exactly.
And so we went to the MPC in order to help market the park to change that to heavy. We got denied. And in that, through working with all the various suppliers and having a lot of internal discussions, we decided to pull that request and just keep it light industrial. So I think that's where a lot of concerns from the neighbors are coming.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're happy that we're no longer pursuing the heavy industrial. We sent a notice out to the neighbors and to city and county middle of last week, maybe. Was it early this week? I can't remember, but it was recent.
Yeah.
And so we're drawing our petition, and hopefully that will make the residents happy.
So it's not going to slip back up?
No, we're not going to, we have dropped our efforts to pursue heavy.
So that would have been a battery plant in that area had the heavy
No, we've never.
zoning been approved?
No, we do not have a battery project in this park. We never have.
Okay, did you have something eyeing there for heavy industrial that was going to have smokestacks?
So the Igneo project that you see here does have an air permit for, they're a minor source. There will be air emissions from Igneo, but it's a very, very minor, emissions release, if you will. And so we have had many, many meetings with the neighbors, and we've talked to them about this. We showed them what they do in Europe. We have worked with the state. They're very strict on these permits, and they factored everything in. They released it with EPA and EPD guidance. And so I think that's where the chatter is coming from. But under light industrial, which we're going to pursue, because we bought the property already zoned light industrial.
Right.
We will pursue what we can under the light industrial classification.
And that category, I heard, wasn't even was it a newly created category for that type of emissions, or?
No, it follows within light industrial.
Okay. And this that you're requesting from us today on number 3, request approval of an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement concerning the Joint Development Agreement, JDA, as to allow alternative means of funding construction as promised, South Access Road and gas line to the Hyundai electric vehicle and battery plant. The project can provide funds to the Claxton Municipal Gas Authority to provide natural gas distribution lines to the site, where on number 4 it shows that y'all would basically cut a check to the county would then pay to do this, to have it actually done. That is all for the development in the part that goes to Bryan County?
The Bryan County facility, yes.
Okay. So it has,
Yeah, so.
yeah, explain it for the public,
Sure.
because that was terrible what I just did. But basically, it's not going to cost this county, but I know
Right.
for legal reasons,
gotta
you have
go
to have
through
a
us.
Pass-through.
guarantor or
Yeah,
something?
it's gotta
Yes.
go through it's gotta go through the county.
Yeah,
Right.
so, but go ahead.
So in essence, it's a contract for a pass-through. So CETA will be paying Chatham County $2.5 million. Chatham County remits the $2.5 million to the JDA. The JDA in turn fulfills its obligations for extending the gas line from Claxon. And so that's part of the overall huge agreement with Hyundai. As Hyundai starts making their payment in lieu of taxes to the JDA in Bryan County, we get paid back. So right now, this is simply a cash function, movement of cash just to get everything started. And then as the project moves forward and becomes operational, they'll start making payments back for all the upfront cash, if you will.
Okay. And would you anticipate more, not smokestacks, but things that emit smoke coming into West Chatham?
Right now, a heavy industrial project's a big thing, and I understand that. We have been permitted for all activities that we've laid out for the plant.
Right.
Other than the battery plant and the manufacturing facility in Bryan County, I do not anticipate any other smokestacks, if you will, or air emissions. Just between the battery plant and this plant, I would say that's what we're permitted for. If there's gonna be additional stuff, we'll probably have to go back and change the permit, but right now, I do not see that happening.
Okay, and let me ask you one other question. The name of one of the groups that you've created here was something about the I-16 corridor group.
The JDA?
Yeah, do you have, are y'all having discussions with the state of Georgia? Because they have been doing good, stepping up to the plate, but it's always a day late and a dollar short. And there's 6-laning I-16, but in their brilliance, they chose to stop the 6-laning basically at I-95, where before this major, largest investment in the state of Georgia goes in, it already needs 8 lanes going all the way to exit 143, coming all the way into Savannah. Are y'all in talks with them about, let's get on the ball and at least 6-lane it all the way to exit 143?
Yes, we are talking about that. It's not in under the plans right now for Hyundai. It's not part of the commitment. But talking to the commissioner and the team, they understand that long-term, we're gonna have to address improving I-16, not just with an interchange and rebuilding 280. But there is a big review right now within DOT going on with what the future, the next 50 years is gonna look like.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet, but I know that they're in the middle of it. But yes, we have had conversations about the long-term effects.
Yeah, and you're well aware, because of the 20 whatever years you and I pretty much been
That's right.
working together here, that I've been very much pro-development, pro-CETA,
Absolutely.
everything. But we're at a point now that all I hear is a lack of excitement from the public with developments and major concerns for the congestion on the roads, the backups, the just jam we've created. We have to somehow get the state of Georgia, if they're gonna wanna bring this down. I get it, we're the jewel of the state now, we're the economic driving force for them at the moment. If we're gonna keep expanding ports, keep expanding areas to put the warehouses to serve the ports, and we're bringing in these manufacturers, we have to get the state to invest heavily in us. Our roads really need to start resembling Atlanta's roads. All out on the west side right now, there should be overpasses coming out of the ports on Dean Forest Road. It should be flyovers over the tracks, over the highways. I mean, we can't keep the substandard roads and keep developing at this pace. So can you please shift a little more? And I know it's not the job, but it's at a point that it's gonna affect your job. I mean, people aren't gonna wanna move here and they're not gonna wanna work here because the traffic's so bad, that y'all shift it to really start lobbying Georgia to invest in these roads.
I hear you, and we definitely will do that.
I
Especially-
appreciate it.
Especially in partnership with this commission and all the other jurisdictions. We're gonna need a lot of help to get all this done.
And we really now, when you land a major, when y'all need to land a major road deal to go with it.
We-
You need to get that investment secured from the state to immediately offset whatever else is gonna grow, because it's bad.
Well, so far, to the state's credit, with this particular project, they are stepping up to the plate, at least in the first 5 to 7 years with all the transportation improvements I just talked about. So that's, $250 million alone, but, you're right, we need more.
And I want to thank our governor and our state delegation, locally as well as all of them up there. They are finally, I believe, recognizing us. And I believe in large part, and I'm not speaking about the governor, but the rest of the state, they realize what an economic vehicle we are for the entire state, and they know the port can't keep expanding. But now we're tossing this into the mix, which is going to be just unbelievably massive, and a good thing if the infrastructure will support it.
I agree 100%.
So, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Commissioner Farrell.
Thank you.
So, a while back, we attended the ribbon cutting of the manufacturing center. So could you give us a quick update as to what we have slated to go in there at this current time, and if there's any, whatever land's left, what's left to fill it out?
So right now, with this exhibit, our first project, which is circled in red, has started working on the site. The next project, if you go to the middle of the site, I don't have my glasses, but I think it says F1.
Yes.
600,000 square feet. That's the second project. That's a Hyundai supplier called Suyon. So they will also start working out there early March. We're working to make one more announcement related to a Hyundai supplier. We're not allowed to do that yet, but it's also going into the park. We have about 6 other projects that are looking right now at the park. We have not landed any of those 6, but we're getting a lot of attention. These parks usually sit for 20 to 25 years before they're fully built out. But personally speaking, I'm very excited that we're having so much activity in the first couple of years. So it's very exciting.
Okay, so we still have some more to fill out, but it's
Yes.
coming along more rapidly than anticipated.
Oh, by far.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Lockett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trip, I'm very aware of the diligence that you and your group have put together, and this is going to be a big thing for Chatham County and this area for generations to come. And I would like to just say congratulations, it's a real big thing, and I'm very excited about it. And I know that you have put in your homework with it, so.
Thank you very much.
Polly. Is that
Polly.
what you say?
Thank you very, very much. It's a team effort, Commissioner. It's been a very remarkable project, but the Chatham County Commission CC event it's just been a great team.
We're working together.
That's right.
Commissioner Whiteley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I feel like
All right, so, first of all, Mr. Tollison, I appreciate you being here. I want to agree with my colleague, Commissioner Lockett. I think the work that you all are doing is definitely bringing some generational outcomes. I also agree with Commissioner Kicklighter in us being proactive as it relates to our infrastructure. I think it's going to be very key to make sure that we grow wisely and not let growth happen to us. I want to also thank you for engaging with the community as it relates to the IGNEO project and the Savannah Manufacturing Center. I know that's been a contentious challenge, and we appreciate you all and your staff availing themselves to come and engage with the community. I want to strongly urge continued community engagement as we continue to grow. I know the mega site is one piece, with the Savannah Manufacturing Center being site that's ultimately going to support potentially operations over at the mega site. I want to just strongly urge and also let you know that myself, I'm sure Commissioner Kicklighter as well, as it relates to our constituents in the area, are willing to work with you all to engage our citizens. The question that I had is, as it relates to the mega site, is Hyundai covering the cost of the site prep and the building of the facility?
The site prep is being paid for by the state of Georgia, which is the mega civil contract, and then Hyundai is responsible for all of the construction.
Got you. All right, and so with that, Hyundai's gonna own the building and everything?
They will. It's a 25-year performance period with the lease back with Bryan County, and the lease is also a part of the JDA agreement with the 4 counties. But after 25 years, it will revert back to the tax rolls of Bryan County.
Okay, got you. So that being the case, considering that it won't initially be wholly owned by them, are there any additional local, minority, or women-owned business participation goals for the build-out?
On the Hyundai side, I'm not aware of any, but they are engaging, and they're going to start doing some workshops to where folks can learn more about their process and how they do it. But as far as women and minority activity, I'm not aware of that, but we are stressing that they look at that for sure. We've had a lot of conversations about that.
All right, and when you're saying we, are you speaking on behalf of CETA or on behalf of the Joint Development Authority?
On behalf of everybody. I mean, it's a strong topic, and we want to make sure they know what people are talking about, for sure.
I understand. And I also understand that, again, the Joint Development Authority has a large hand in this. And we have, and I say we, as in the county, have appointees to that. So I want to urge those appointees of ours to please ensure that you're having that conversation also. Because, of course, if we're going to build our economy, yes, the jobs are great, but let's support our businesses who've been here too.
Yes.
But that's all I had. I appreciate y'all efforts, and I look forward to seeing the continued growth.
And we, by the way, Mr. Chairman, whenever y'all want to come out and do a tour, we're happy to ride you around the site and show you what's going on. And the other thing, I want to apologize for my appearance. We're having a
No, you don't have to worry about
well, I
that.
got boots on. And we're going to the site.
Let's move beyond your appearance.
I'd be wearing a tie.
All right, no, you have to do that. Let me just ask you this now, so that you can alert the commission. We are in the process now of scheduling a field trip to Montgomery for all the commissioners who want to go.
That's correct.
Have we locked in on those dates yet?
We have not. We're trying to figure out. I think there's going to be, because of the amount of people, we thought about trying to do one field trip, but all the other counties want to go too, so we're going to have to break it apart.
Okay, so that means they may have to go in 2 trips or
Correct.
3 trips.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just want the commissioners to be ready to hear from you about that field trip that the manager and I have already taken to Montgomery.
That's right.
All right. So you can see what is to come. Commissioner Stone.
Thank you. Real quickly, Mr. Tollerson, thank you very much for this presentation. And Mr. Chairman, do you think that throughout this process, maybe you could come back and give us some updates?
Sure.
So that any questions that may arise during this process can be addressed immediately?
Does quarterly sound good, or bi-monthly, or y'all?
Whatever you all think is best. I just think it's
Quarterly?
a great
Okay.
thing for you to keep us
Yeah,
apprised.
quarterly would be.
Okay.
All
I
right.
just like the idea that we are being filled in on what's going on.
Right.
Quarterly, consider it done.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else, sir? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tripp, I didn't mean to sound too negative there, but I'm catching a lot of flack, so I hope I didn't, but,
We've had other harder conversations.
yeah, I know it. Thank you for everything y'all doing.
And I think that's coming too, because in there's some misnomers that people they don't know, and they aren't in the meetings to hear anything, and so they make it up as they go. Okay, but we'll make sure that this commission is briefed on every aspect of what's going on. All right, that's the purpose for the field trip. All right, there are no chairman item, no commissioner's item. No table items. We go to items for individual action. The first is the reappointment of Joe Wells to the Chatham County Chatham County Savannah Metropolitan Planning Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second that Joe Wells be reappointed. Are you ready for the question?
Mr. Chairman?
All right, all right, yeah, question, go ahead.
Yes, sir. We're in the discussion phase.
Yes, sir.
All right, I just want to make sure that it's known that we as a commission did receive emails from 2 sitting board members to include the chairman of MPC in opposition to the reappointment. And with that being the case, I think considering that we make appointments to multiple boards, if we're not going to, multiple boards and authorities, if we're not going to take any of the advice from those who are actually working on our behalf on these boards, I think we should really reconsider how we maneuver through this process. But that was all I had to say.
All right, please cast your votes. Commissioner Whiteley, how do you vote?
No.
All right, Commissioner Whiteley votes in the red. Commissioner Milton is missing. All right, Commissioner, do I have everybody?
Yes, everybody.
That's everybody, okay. It passes. Reappointment of Joyce Roche to the Chatham County Hospital Authority. Is there a motion?
Second.
Properly motion and second that Ms. Roche be reappointed. Ready for the question? Please cast your vote.
Yes.
Commissioner Whiteley votes yes. We're waiting on 7 and 8. Waiting on 7 and 8. Okay. That's everybody. All right. Reappoint E. Daniel Deloach to the Chatham County Hospital Authority. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly motion is second. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Commissioner Whiteley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Whiteley votes yes. Okay. All right. Request approval of the following budget amendments and transfers in the multi-grant fund, increased revenues and expenditures, $293,941 for the CJCC Barriers Grant. B, $99,676 for the Georgia Department of Human Resources Child Advocacy Grant. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are they ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Commissioner Whiteley, how do you
Yes.
vote? Commissioner Whiteley votes yes. All votes are in. Request board approval of an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement concerning Counties Joint Development Authority, JDA, so as to allow for the alternate means of funding construction of a Promise South Access Road and gas line to the Hyundai electric vehicle and battery plant, the project, and provide funds to the Claxton Municipal Gas Authority to provide natural gas distribution lines to serve the project site. Are you ready for a motion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Properly motion is second. Are you ready for the question? Please, question?
Could you clarify one more time before the vote that where the money's coming from and how it's coming back and that sort of thing, just one more time? I know we touched on it in the last presentation, but I think it's more appropriate right now.
Trip, come in case you have to straighten me out, okay? But now, the way it was done was that, excuse me, CEDA's gonna provide the funds to Chatham County. Chatham County will then provide the funds to the Claxton Municipal Gas. JDA. Then the JDA and will provide the monies to the gas line so that they can run the gas line from Claxton into the manufacturing plant. So it's actually CEDA's funds, but they have to go through because we are the governing body, it has to go through us.
So what you're saying is we're a pass-through?
We're a pass-through,
And
yes.
JDA will get reimbursed when the tax in lieu, the
We-
payments in lieu of taxes come in?
Yeah,
All right.
they'll get reimbursed, but we don't get reimbursed too.
Just want all that out
We
there?
don't reimburse for handling it,
Gotcha,
like the state do us.
right.
You know
Okay.
how they collect the tax and then they send us the rest after this is gonna be the same type of thing. Got it?
Oh, I got it.
Oh,
I
okay.
just
All right.
want to put it out
So
there.
the public knows, yeah. That's why we in this. All right? Any other unreadiness? Please cast your votes. Commissioner Whiteley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Whiteley votes yes. All right? Request approval of a second amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with Savannah Economic Development Authority to supplement and the intergovernmental agreement dated July 15, 2021, and for the First Amendment dated July 29, 2022. Under the Second Amendment, CETA will advance funds in the amount of $2,500,000 to Chatham County, and the Chatham County will distribute the funds to the Joint Development Authority, JDA, for the purpose of extending the natural gas line to the project. Is there a motion?
Second.
There's a second. Properly motion is second. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Whiteley votes yes. Okay. So we got all that done. I'm gonna ask to see the attorney now. We got all that done, right? Okay, thumbs up. All right, let's move on. My attorney was shaking their head, so, all right, request approval to create a new DUI court coordinator position in the state court to provide oversight and liaison duties for the court's probation provider. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
There's a second? Properly motion is second. Are you ready for the question?
Could we, where's the funding coming from?
Mr. Manager, the funding is coming, it's the DUI court.
I'm going to ask Ms. Kramer,
Yes.
we've been up by that funding,
It says state court,
the state court budget.
clerk,
Clerk, right.
department.
And so it's in the state court's budget. That's where it's at. That's where the funding is. Already funded? Yes. They just fill in the position. But I wanted them to answer. I knew, but I wanted them to answer, all right? All right, please cast your votes. Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. To present the fiscal year 2022-2023 second quarterly financial report dated December 31st, 2022 to the board for information. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Chairman, Board, I'm going to ask Ms. Ms. Davis to come to the podium and provide you, she's got a slide presentation and going to provide you with our second quarter financial report and answer any questions you may have. Ms. Davis?
Good morning, Chairman,
Good morning.
Commissioners. This is as of December 31st, 2022. In the general fund, we had revenues of $125.62 million and expenditures of $106.78. In the special service district, we had $30.23 million and expenditures of $19.96 million. Looking more closely at the revenues, we had taxes of $120.1 million, license fees of $198,000, $528,000 in intergovernmental revenues. Charges for services were $8.5 million, fines and forfeitures 1.6, a huge $7 million unrecognized loss on our investments, and miscellaneous income of $775,000. In SSD, we had $28.6 million in taxes, $304 in licenses and fees, $122,000 in charges for services, fines and forfeitures to $667,000, and investment income of $77,000. Sales tax collections in the second quarter, we received $28.7 million, and SPLOST since inception $222.5 million. The local option sales tax for the second quarter was $6.7 million, and last year to date was $11.1 million. And we received this last month an all-time breaking record of $11.1 million in the SPLOST, and that's before the reallocations. In our cash and investments, we had 221 million in the general fund, 3.4 in SPLOST 1, 28.2 million in SPLOST 3, 9.6 in SPLOST 4, SPLOST 5 was 9.9 million, 6 was 58.3, and 7 we have 88.7 million in investments. Our cash on hand was 14.8, and our Georgia Fund 1 was 88.8 million. Fire fees, this is an update from last month. At the beginning of the year, in the year beginning January 1st, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2021, Chatham Emergency Service billed 11.3 million and collected 7.5 for fire services. And these are rough estimates here because it's very difficult to pinpoint the amounts, but and you're kind of comparing different time periods, so it's a little bit skewed. Chatham County in October invoiced 13.5 million. The additional 2.5 million includes 1.8 million in administrative cost, which is basically the indirect cost allocation, similar to what we charge SSD and the other funds for the administrative costs. And equipment leases and increases in payroll, benefits, and insurance, primarily workers' comp insurance. As of 2/10/23, the county has collected 10.2 million, leaving an uncollected balance of 3.4 million, and our percentage collection rate is 75.2%. Final invoices are going out hopefully today with late fees. Those late fees are the equivalent of $25 or 10% of the outstanding balance, whatever is greater. That's. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Manager?
And this is on the billing notices that are going out this week. We made some significant changes to the way the bill looks. It will be no doubt that it's coming from Chatham County and not an out-of-town vendor. And on the billing notice, it does indicate that failure to pay will result in court action. So we're being a little stronger with this mail out, so you may hear that. But it is, we have the big Chatham County logo on the envelope and on the bill, and it does say that failure to non-payment will result in court action.
That's it? All right, questions? All right, start with Commissioner Stone. Anyone else? All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Milton.
I have a question. I've wondered about this for a little while. So like in SPLOST 3 and SPLOST 6, we have a fair amount of money. What happens to that money?
It's invested, and we do a cash flow projection for when we think those projects are going to be, we're going to need those funds.
Okay, but just out of curiosity, SPLOST 3 was a long time ago.
We can get you a breakdown in terms of what projects are in 3 that haven't been started. We'll get that to you.
Okay, I mean, I'm just curious because, I mean, certainly not now, but the last few years, you know, construction costs were fairly low, and we've got this money sitting here, and I'm just curious as to why we haven't acted upon it.
Yes, ma'am. We'll get that to you.
All right, Commissioner Milton.
You were talking about being a little harsh on the court thing. That was done initially, actually.
Well, I think I don't think initially we said that it would result in some kind of court action, and that's what's on the bill now.
So how has it been with the people who don't want to pay? Are we going to court with them now?
We've been sifting through the appeals. Some appeals were because of square footage, and those were forwarded to the assessor's office to double check square footage. And then there've been others that come to the county manager's office and review them, and we reviewed them and made a determination. And for the most part, if there's been an error or mistake, we've corrected that. But for the most part, if if there was no error or no mistake, we forwarded that back to the taxpayer and we've denied the appeal.
So did they have to go through a court appearance or anything, or did they meet with you?
Well, if we denied the appeal, it goes back to them. If they still don't want to pay, then that'll result in the court action.
So was that 10 million collected, did that include the appeals?
No. No, there's about 1,000 that have appealed. They're working their way through the process. And the amounts that are billed for the late fees do not include those that are still under appeal.
Yeah, well, good job then.
Yep.
If they
The
got
due
10
date
million.
for all of it is March 31st. And as the manager just mentioned, if not received by the 31st, then we will send out notices at that point.
Good deal, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Whiteley, do you have a question?
No, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Adams,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When will the new bills go out?
today.
Today, the updated bills go out today.
I'm talking about for the next year.
Oh, we hadn't determined a set date on that. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to talk with the board in a workshop to kind of go over the process, go over where we are. And I think we need to have a meeting with you before we set the date for the next round of bills.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think the workshop next week, we'll have CES there to answer questions.
Okay. All right, we got all questions answered? All right, let's go request board approval of the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, resolution and ARPA project budget, projected budget.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Board, I'm going to ask Ms. Jennings to come to the podium. We've looked at the funding in the ARPA budget, and we made some changes, and we want to update the board on those changes before you adopt the budget. Ms. Jennings.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you want me just to walk through these Excels or do the whole presentation, sir?
Just that.
Just
Yes,
these,
right,
okay.
yes.
All right, so what was presented to you in your packet is two proposals or two spreadsheets. The first spreadsheet that you have will show you the expenditures that have been completed in the 2021 ARPA projects. Those that were highlighted in green are those projects that have been completed, which leaves us with, or left us with a balance of $16,424,575 to move forward. And the second page is the 2023 recommendations for projects using that 16 million, or 16.4 million, plus the additional second tranche that we received. So we have allocated projects to the tune of $44,533,768. The one thing I will highlight and bring your attention to is the project on line 44, which we currently have listed as future COVID response with a 13.8 million. That will be part of our conversation during the workshop to get your input on how best to align those funds. I'm sure some of you may have heard, whether you were at NACO or just in the media last week, that the Department of Health and Human Services has called for an end to the public health emergency effective May the 11th of this year. And so we will have to be mindful of any funds that we put in because the future COVID may not exist. It does not necessarily mean that we won't have mitigation and planning opportunities to do some things that are health related. So that's an overview. This is something that we've been talking about since November, and there's been, the only other change is after hearing from Treasury, we have realigned some of the projects to be in the appropriate expenditure category. If you recall, within the revenue replacement, there's only about 17 million that we could expend, and so we are realigning some of those projects to be more appropriately dispersed and alignment with the new rule from Treasury.
Any-
It'd probably be easier if I just do it this way.
Briefly can't help.
All right, so within that, so they're color-coded by expenditure category. So within that top section that you have the blue, that is what we are considering public health. This is emergency response, which is specifically to creating a behavioral health unit with CCPD. Chief Hadley and I have been discussing this. It will be somewhat of a challenge with low staff or with staffing concerns, but this would allow us to have a licensed clinician to respond with our law enforcement officers. We have the mental health staff that we are supporting, which is a contract with Gateway to be able to increase their pay. And then the mental health facility, which is funds that we're setting aside for the Youth and Adolescent Crisis Stabilization Unit. The electronic message boards will be directed by SEMA, and that is specifically in regards to communication to the public. Electronic monitoring is for individuals to be able to be released from the jail but be monitored through a contract. And those are for those, I think we spoke about this during the workshop, that those would be what's allowable by law, and then a potential employee down payment assistance program or what's in the public health category. In negative economic impact category, we are looking at first responder retention plans, and we're looking at a home repair project specifically for unincorporated Chatham County. In the public health negative economic impact, specifically public sector capacity, we have funds set aside for transportation with a relationship with CAT. We also have some recreational projects that are specific to certain community park improvements would be at Ambuck, Lamarville, Salt Creek, and Westlake. And then it includes your judicial caseload backlog, which is a continuation of what we've already been doing. It also includes the early child care education that we have set aside, specifically using money from SPLOST, but using ARPA money for the design, and then exploring some opportunities around the homelessness and some strategies in that space. Within infrastructure, it includes kind of 4 overarching projects, which are drainage, hydrants, sewer, and broadband. And then each of those projects are listed out more specifically there. And then within the revenue replacement category, we have a recommendation for the website redesign, communication tower, which will support the radios and the 911 dispatch process. It also includes the jail management system, which will connect to the CAT RMS. It includes some HVAC work and then future COVID response. And that's the category that we're going to have to redefine a little bit more. And then within the final category allowed under administration, we have a diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility initiatives, evaluation of how well we've done with all the projects, and then to maintain the staff that we are currently working with.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, and for Commissioner Kicklight and the rest of the board, we really want you to take that spreadsheet that Ms. Jennings has in your packet and look at that. When you adopt the budget today, we want to circle back around with you next week to kind of go through those a little more, and let's map our strategic guidelines for the upcoming year. So,
Chairman.
Yes, I'm coming. I just want them to get through.
That's right. Yes, sir.
All right, Commissioner Kicklight.
All right. Staff did a great job. I was at the meeting when we talked about all this, but this is the money the federal government gave local governments to help with COVID, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. While all these projects are great and they're needed, why don't we set the example for the rest of the country and stop the craziness, it's called federal taxes, and send the money back that we didn't use? Why don't we set the example for the rest of the nation? We could be the first one to do it. And if everybody would do that, maybe they won't have to tax our children and grandchildren quite as much in the future. But this is why government's broke and our people are we're all, because we're people too and we pay, we're all overtaxed for just this reason. It is wonderful projects here, very tempting, but that's the whole problem with our country tax-wise from the top right down, is they spend the money, so our reps rightfully take their own piece to bring home in a trade-off, and we could set the example and just say no, send it back and hopefully the rest of the nation might follow along. We could set the example.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Chairman.
All right, come in. Go ahead, Commissioner Middleton first.
Can we take some out for home improvements before we send anything back?
Just hold that. Just hold, that's what you're talking about, but recategorizing. All right, Commissioner Whiteley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will say, as it relates to I see some of there's an amount that's requested and then an amount that's recommended. And one thing that troubles me is that when we talk about this judicial backlog, understanding, and I hope the public understands that when we have a judicial backlog, when we have people who are sitting in the jail, it is costing us. It's costing us, I think it's somewhere between $74 to $78 a day to have somebody sitting in jail. And so for us to not, I see we're giving plenty of money to indigent defense, but we're not necessarily giving money requested to the district attorney. And those two are on opposite sides of the court, if you will. However, they're working with the same situation, people who are either sitting in jail waiting for trial and waiting to actually go to court. And so I think it's something that we need to discuss and further. And the other thing I just want to say as it relates to leaving money on the table, that's an example when we're talking about, I understand Commissioner Kicklighter's thoughts of being a leader, if you will, and sending money back. But just like Medicaid, that money is us not using the money only hurts us. I don't see any tax increase on us for this money that was given to us for COVID relief. So us sending it back, I don't think would necessarily be wise because, yeah, we can say that we're being responsible. However, we're just going to have to pay for it somewhere else. And when it comes to county expenses, that comes on the backs of county property owners and county citizens.
All right, do we have everybody? Okay, let me, Commissioner Farrell.
At our workshop that we looked at some of this ARPA money, one of the things that I spoke about was sewer service in the unincorporated area. So I see there's some sewer lift stations and stuff that are already existing, and I'm sure they need maintenance. However, there's probably, since it's an enterprise fund, there's probably funding for that. I was specifically looking for in the 4th district, and there's a lot of land in the 1st district also that has been developed over the last 100 years. You know, some of the older neighborhoods, some of the more existing places that have been settled in Chatham County that have no sewer service. So being a low elevation on the east side where the islands are, you're relying on septic tanks and drain fields for residential sewage. Because of the issues that we have being low in a wet environment, I think it takes at least an acre of land to build a house now if you don't have sewer service. So that's great when you're a central Georgia county that's sparsely populated and land is plentiful and cheap. That's really not a big deal at all. But when your land is very expensive and your people are in a very urban environment and there's no sewer service available, and some of these existing neighborhoods struggle with it, especially the ones I'm more familiar with are in the 1st district, in the Whitfield area, like Rivers Bend and some places on Burns and Rio Vista struggle when there's a lot of water around. And there's plenty of examples on Wilmington Island, Whitmarsh, where older homes have been there a while. And so I say that to say this: where is the ARPA money going towards new sewer service? because that's a public health situation. There was quite a bit of information going around and push back 15 years ago or better when I was a newly elected commissioner, where they figured out that when it rains a lot and the soil becomes very saturated like it is currently in these low-lying areas along the estuaries, that what happens with the existing septic systems is a lot of that sewage just kind of percolates out and oozes off into the marsh, into the estuary. So there's good health reasons and development reasons and quality of life reasons that Chatham County, in the unincorporated area that represents nearly 100,000 people, and the ones that got here first and developed their property and have sold it, handed off, there's no prospects that I know of from anybody that's gonna come in. No developer's gonna go back and foot the bill for a sewer system. And the only logical place that could possibly bring new sewer in is the Chatham County Commissioners. And with this enormous tranche of money, it would have been a great way to jumpstart that approach to bringing in more lift stations and more pipe and bring them into the areas that staff could identify that have the most problems. I'm sure the health department has plenty of data that would dictate where the first monies could go, where there are issues when it becomes rainy and saturated, which it does periodically from year to year in this area, and always has and always will. And the septic tanks that are existing aren't working. And plus, so my question is where is the funding for new sewer work in the unincorporated Chatham County?
Commissioner, that's one item that we continuously look at. I know staff's been talking about being able to provide more sewer service to the unincorporated residents in Chatham County. We're doing a hydrant study now in those areas, and we can certainly look at bringing something back to look at, expanding our sewer capacity in those areas.
Well, like I said, I think having some seed money like this is a good opportunity to get it started, knowing that once the customers start coming online, that being a enterprise fund, it will backfill the money will go back into the system to keep it maintained and keep it up and pay for its actual use. So, I would strongly urge staff to look at all these different areas and work on the sewer issue. I mean, it's not very glamorous and it's not very, until your toilet doesn't work, and then it's really not glamorous. So, and I know there's a lot of areas in the county that have that issue. Nobody likes to talk about it because it's gonna devalue your property if you get too vocal about some issues on that nature. And the other thing that I do want to emphasize is the hydrants. There is the Wild West of water supply system in the unincorporated area, especially on the east side. Places that have been around again for 50, 75, 100 years that have been lived in, they have very inadequate water supply systems. So, and it's very difficult to get a person or developer or anybody to come in and do anything to provide fire hydrants. One of the ideas that engineering came up with was these dry hydrants. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see as much resources as we can muster to go to these problem areas like Spanish Hammock and gosh knows where else. There's problems all over the unincorporated area where they don't have a water source. And CES does the best job they can with their tanker trucks and all that sort of stuff. But time is of the essence when you have a raging fire. So dry hydrants are relatively cheap to install. And I've had conversations with CES over the years, and Mr. Kearns back there is nodding his head. They'll bring the pumps to make these things work. And for those who don't know what a dry hydrant is, because it's kind of a weird term when you're talking, how do you put out a fire with a dry hydrant? That sounds counterintuitive. A dry hydrant is basically a fire hydrant that has no water in it, but it is connected to a water source nearby. It could be a lake, a lagoon, a stream, an ocean, any body of water that you can connect this hydrant to. And it stays dry at all times, and there's no moving parts. But when CES would drive up there in an emergency situation, they would quickly connect a pump, crank it up, and they'd start pumping water, and it'd be wet in an instant. So these are inexpensive solutions to real-world problems of fire suppression and safety. And I would like to see as much resources as we can, since we have this gift from the federal government, to help jumpstart some of these things and start the process of engineering them, locating them, and giving the folks some assurance that should there be a fire, they have a source of water. They don't have to totally rely on a tanker truck that runs out of water very quickly. It's going to be pretty hard to pump a stream dry or a river or a large lagoon dry to put out a fire. And it doesn't matter if the water is salt water or muddy water or whatever. Water's water, it puts out fires. And the pumps can handle that sort of thing. So those are my two items that I'd like to focus some attention on in the unincorporated area. New sewer service, new fire hydrants, even if they're dry hydrants, which is probably the most likely scenario. Thank you for your time.
All right, now, did I get everyone? Okay, now, I think what we also need for the commissioners to understand and for the public to understand is that the reason we are redoing is because the federal government has expanded what we can do with the ARPA money, which before we couldn't do it. Now they have expanded some areas we can do it. In fact, we found out at NACO just last week when we were there, they have allowed some counties to go into some areas that we have not been forward to now. And what happens is, if I got the number wrong, you can correct me, okay? In ARPA 1, when we were using monies for rental assistance, some folks didn't use their money and the government took it back and gave it to us, right? When we got that extra $9 million.
So there's differences here.
Right.
The
Yeah.
America Rescue Plan is the state and local fiscal recovery fund.
Right.
The Emergency Rental Assistance Fund is different.
All right, but which one is?
But you are correct, in ERA 1,
Right.
there were some communities that did not expend their funds.
Right.
And so we were reallocated some
Okay,
funds
and
from that.
And my point for saying that is for us to understand, and I've said this to staff, let's find every avenue we can spend every penny, because if you send it back, all they're gonna do is give it to another community, all right? It's not gonna sit there, it can't go back into the federal treasury. So what they will do is, somebody else will come up with a need, like the two needs you expressed. They'll come up with those needs and they'll say, okay, you can use it for that. But when do we have the workshop schedule?
Wednesday?
Wednesday? Okay, listen, please come and bring those ideas and bring those thoughts so that we can redirect those funds, because one of the things that we must do so that we don't get no penalties and have to pay no interest, we must follow those guidelines that the federals have given us. We can even ask for to redirect some funds. We can get permission to redirect some funds if it's not on the list, or if the guidelines don't allow us to do it now. We have the opportunity, but here's our challenge. We must spend that money by the date, by the deadline, okay? So please, ma'am, please, sir, come Wednesday, let's find out what we can reallocate, because it is my desire and it's my thought and it's my plan not to send not one penny back, okay? I don't think we ought to give Colorado money, and I'm not picking on Colorado, they just came up in my head. I don't think we ought to give Colorado money that we could have used in Chatham County. All right, that's my thoughts. So please, ma'am, please, sir, attend those, all right? So now, can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
There's a
Second.
properly motion and second that the request be granted. Are you ready for the question? Please signify by your vote. Commissioner Whiteley?
Yes.
All right. Moving along, Director Serhat.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I know it's been a long meeting, so I'll be brief. So in your packet, we had the bi-monthly report, and if there's any questions on it, it was pretty standard, but I'll answer them at the end if you have any questions. So we're starting to increase the number of people we've got, which is good because we need them. So in December, so the last time I met with you guys was prior to us getting the senior intel analyst on. So we've onboarded the analyst. We were able, very fortunate to get a second district attorney, so our cases are starting to move along pretty good. We were able to replace the paralegal that left, which is helping not only the TAC and major case investigations, but our asset forfeiture paperwork and everything's flowing just fine. And then we hired a technical specialist to get over to help the two tech guys because they're busy constantly. I know one of the things that I've kind of been stressing that increase the intelligence capabilities of C&T. That is going along very, very good. Our capabilities have kind of quadrupled since I've been here. We've had some serious success. We're rapidly becoming the place to where we handle all the cell phone data, and we're able to store and collect all that data, which allows us to analyze it better for not only our drug investigations, but for the surrounding municipalities and police departments. So we've had 2 or 3 very, very big successes where people have reached out to us for assistance, and we've been able to very quickly develop the intel, get it back out. It's actionable, and we were able to identify a shooting suspect, what led to a double homicide conviction. Orlando PD called Savannah PD to assist them on a possible homicide investigation. They had a target up here. SPD was able to locate that target, and then we were given the information that they found at the scene, and we were able to place that target at the homicide in Orlando, Florida, at the time the homicide. So Orlando PD is very excited about what we're able to generate for them. So that's, we're moving right along with that. We've got a little ways to go, but I'm very pleased with that. So just an update real quick. So as you know, we're working very hard to investigate these overdose deaths. So last year in 2022, my 2 investigators were called out 73 times. We had approximately 56 overdose. So last year, the year before, we were at like 46 or 47. So we were up about 20% year over year. I don't anticipate that number going down. We can only hope and pray we're holding our own at the end of this year. My agents have trained over 385 officers in the use of naloxone and the Narcan. So we're getting out, and that number is going to dwindle because we pretty much trained everybody. We got one training coming up for Armstrong, or the Georgia Southern, the Armstrong campus. They've requested us that we go out and train them, which we will. We won't distribute any Narcan to them because we can't, but we will get out there and train them up. And then as of today, this went down to be put on the board the other day, but as of today, we've got 10 overdose deaths already this year. So we're not slowing down there. And then just, I want to take very quickly that, I've talked about the opioid trailer. We're getting those quotes. We're real close to finalizing all that. So I'm excited about that. I have a presentation with the schools next week. I was able to hook up with, through one of the other presentations I did to the Rotary, to one of the many Rotaries in town. I met a lady from the Ad Council. She's a senior VP for the Ad Council and is in charge of the opioid campaign, advertising campaign in the state of Massachusetts. So her and I have become buddies. So I've hooked them up with Savannah Public Schools, and we're giving a presentation next week. So that's moving right along. So I'm excited about that. And then just a little bit on our TAC units are starting to become very, very active. This investigation here was the tactical teams do more of a short-term investigations, and we executed a search warrant on this and ended up with 2 ounces of fentanyl. So it was an opioid case that we started, rapidly moved through the investigative progress to hit the door, and we ended up with several guns and about 2 ounces of fentanyl. So that's kind of what that all looks like. And once again, I know I sound like a broken record, but all these drug dealers are selling everything: marijuana, methamphetamines, pills, fentanyl, and that's all sitting right there in front of you. Okay, about 80% of the pills out there that you don't go to a pharmacy to pick up are laced with fentanyl. That's just the facts of life. 80%. 80% of the pills on the street that you don't go to a pharmacist and you get it straight from them, 80% of those are laced with fentanyl. So, and then I'm going to start doing an emerging threat section. And I know this was a hot button up there, the kratom. Just so you guys kind of get a little understanding of what that is. It's a plant or a tree that is grown in Southeast Asia. And they take the leaves, and they have a dual use. So, if you take it in low amounts, that's going to be a stimulative. So it's going to stimulate you, but the higher the amounts that they take in, it becomes a depressant, and it's more of an addictive opioid type effect. All right, there's now this stuff you can get in any store, in Detroit we call them stop and robs. Any gas station, they are selling this. You have to be over 18. The fallacy there is, once somebody can buy it, then the kids under 18 think it's okay. So, that's one of the big problems with these types of products. There is no accepted medical use for this. The FDA and DEA have basically said that, it's a dangerous chemical and it's a chemical of concern, and they're wanting to do more testing. I think we kind of heard that on the opioids. That's something to keep in mind. And then lastly, I'm not really excited about have to tell you about this, but those are just some of the effects. I mean, at the end of the day, it's addictive. And if it's something that can be purchased legally by an 18-year-old, you're never going to convince a 16-year-old that it's bad. Simple as that. All right, here's the next. So this is called nitazene, and it goes by a couple other names, and the chemical names are about this long. But it is an opioid synthetic that is 40 times more potent than fentanyl. So within the last 2 weeks, my office was a part of seizing a kilo of that. So it's here. It's very inexpensive. It's being shipped in from China. it's about 9,000 a kilo, versus your fentanyl, which is about $3,500 a kilo. So, you know, that kilo is 2.2 pounds, you know, so, you know, my demonstration on, you know, a sweet and low pack that's got 1 gram, 1,000 milligrams, and that really 5 milligrams can kill someone that doesn't have a tolerance, okay? That's fentanyl. So now we're looking at something that's 40 times more potent, and it's here. It's here. So the Narcan and naloxone will reverse those effects. The only problem with it, whereas we might have to hit somebody once or twice if they were on the fentanyl, we might have to hit somebody 4 or 5 times to get that reverse, or slow it down enough to get EMS on the scene where they can push the IV. And here's the scary thing about this, is understand this, okay? 80% of the pills on the street are laced with fentanyl. So if we're allowing this stuff, the kratom, that will get laced. I guarantee it's going to get laced. So, and then I know there was a bill, was it 181? I don't think it passed or whatever, but that was a mistake. But that's my humble opinion. There was a bill up in
Atlanta.
181.
They
were going to outlaw
moderated
it.
it, and I don't know exactly what the status. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I spoke out of turn.
No, that's all right. It is, go ahead, so.
Okay, well,
and then I'll.
I don't know the current status of 181.
okay,
It was
I misspoke.
from
Yeah.
a representative down in St. Simons, who has also recognized the danger of kratom. NACO has recognized the dangers of kratom, and we passed an interim resolution. Like he just said, the state legislature has recognized it. And I'm not a chemist, and I'm going to try to read this resolution
No,
because...
wait a minute, before you read the resolution, now, hold just a minute.
Okay.
Okay? Go ahead. We had this meeting with the sheriff and the chief and the director. So Sheriff, you all want to add before we get to the resolution?
Yeah, I don't do as much investigation on the street as Chief Hadley does and as Sargent does, but I think we should come up with some kind of motion to not let these, shop and draws sell this stuff to these kids or 18 years or adults or whatever, because here's the problem. They sell it to them, and then one of my people bring it into my jail. We just did a big bust on one of my officers that brought some drugs into my jail. If you let this happen in the stores, they're gonna get it, and somebody's gonna get it, and it's gonna get in my jail. And it's, sorry I said, it's dangerous, very dangerous. You know, people need to understand that you can't take stuff that's not prescribed to you by a pharmacy and expect not something to happen to yourself, or you do something to harm somebody else. More than likely, you're gonna harm somebody else than yourself. And I know Chief Hadley is in agreement with what myself and CNC Commander Sargent is.
Chief?
Yes, sir. I'm certainly in full support of finding a way to restrict access to this. If the bill has failed at some point, maybe there's a way to resurrect it and an avenue to pursue relative to that. I know in my conversation with the Georgia Chiefs, they were going to support the bill. I'm not sure where it's stalled, but.
I believe that they feel that it's going to be incremental steps. They're going to study it, and I don't know, I cannot tell you as of today what the status of the bill is, but I know that it's receiving recognition, and they realize that since this is not approved by the FDA, that there do need to be more studies done. But the thing that frightens me is that you can buy it at any convenience store, and I doubt very seriously that everyone that's purchasing, that they're checking IDs. And our children today and I think of a 16-year-old still as a child, they have enough pressure on them as it is, and to be able to be confronted with stuff that could lead to further addiction, if we don't do something, we're not doing our part. But that's, how I feel about it. And that's why I brought it to the attention of the chairman, because I'm very concerned as to what is out there for our youth to consume.
And again, our thoughts on it is, you keep on studying, you keep on studying, you keep on studying. Well, while you're studying, they dying. While you're
Folks
studying, they
dying,
dying.
yeah.
While you're studying, they dying. So come up with some kind of solution to not let it get out. Just like Spice, when it came out, everybody,
I
oh, that's
agree.
good. Well, how many people did that kill?
I agree.
And
The
the
attorney-
Georgia Sheriff's Association is behind it to not let it happen too.
The attorney is, you wanted to give us something?
Yes, Your Honor. I mean, Chairman.
Okay. We got it.
I'm so used to being in court.
Is that a promotion, sir?
That's a promotion.
But I got a chance to watch the committee meeting where they brought up the bill for the Kratom in the Georgia legislature. At this point, the Kratom bill is not dead. It's just been tabled in committee.
Right.
It's currently in the non-civil judiciary committee. Many of the points that were brought out were some of the same points that were made at the meeting. I think there was a compromise point that was made where they were suggesting modifying the current law to whereby only you can only get it if it was prescribed by a doctor or pharmacist. But at this time, they pretty much from the committee decided that they wanted to look into some more areas of it and also look at the current law before they decided to act on it. So it may be brought back up in committee, but at this point it's not dead yet. It's just been tabled.
Okay, and also, when we were at NACO last week, we attended the opioid workshop, and what the pharmacists and the medical doctors who were there said that they're into less study, okay? But in the meantime, I think there is one death in Georgia that they have contributed to this, and so that's why when everybody has made their comments, then I've asked Commissioner Stone to read a resolution that we've come up with, because we need to stop this thing, because kids are buying this over the counter, and they're buying it in convenience stores and drugstores and other places. And I don't know why the hesitancy and I asked this question in the workshop, what is the hesitancy of saying it's an opioid? And they said, well, we can't definitely say that. We need to go through the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. But the physician from Pennsylvania said that he knew of at least 4 deaths in his jurisdiction that they can contribute to this thing, because nobody is saying definitely what it is, all right? And so we're caught between a rock and a hard place, but now, have I gotten everybody's comment? Commissioner Whiteley, did you want to comment at all?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, this is way too complex. We'll be here all day.
Okay. All right, so let's go to Commissioner Stone, and she's gonna read a resolution that, and I wanna thank the staff and thank Chief Hadley and Director Sarhad and the sheriff for getting with staff and coming up with a resolution that we wanna put out there, that we want to go to our lawmakers, and we want to go on our national lawmakers, so that they'll know where Chatham County's position is on this. Commissioner Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not a chemist, so some of these names are a little
Yeah, I know.
difficult to pronounce. Maybe that's why Surratt gave this to me to read. But you probably know these names. Okay. This is a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Chatham County, Georgia, concerning the drug commonly known as kratom. Whereas the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has issued warnings to consumers not to use Mitagyna specosa, commonly known as kratom, a plant which grows naturally in Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, New Guinea, and whereas the leaves of kratom are consumed either by chewing or by drying and smoking, putting into capsules, tablets, or extract, or by boiling into a tea. And whereas 2 compounds found within the kratom leaves, mitochondrial and 7A hydroxymidrogynon, interact with the opioid brain receptors and produce sedative effects similar to narcotics like opioids, and carry similar risk of abuse, addiction, and in some cases death, and calls to poison control centers in the United States regarding kratom have increased tenfold from 2010 to 2015. Whereas the FDA is actively evaluating all available scientific information to better understand kratom's safety profile, including the use of kratom combined with other drugs. And whereas while the FDA evaluates the availability, safety information about the effects of kratom, the agency encourages healthcare professionals and consumers to report any adverse reactions to the FDA MedWatch program. And whereas though not currently illegal under federal law, kratom has been banned in Alabama, Arkansas, Indiana, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin. In addition, in 2016, the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, describes kratom as a drug of concern. And whereas the state of Georgia in 2018 created a study committee to review the risk associated with kratom and made several recommendations for the safety and well-being of Georgia citizens. The recommendations were, number 1, to limit access kratom to individuals 18 years and younger. Number 2, require clear and consistent labeling of kratom products. Number 3, conduct additional research into the benefits and safety risks of kratom. Number 4, establish penalties for violations of any kratom standards consistent with existing penalties for violating standards set for regulated substances. And number 5, encourage the appropriate federal agencies to increase monitoring of kratom product quality to protect kratom consumers and all concerned citizens.
Request board approval of a resolution supporting study.
So moved.
It's been properly motioned and second that we adopt the resolution, approve the resolution. Are you ready for the question? No questions? All right, please cast your votes. Commissioner White, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, my.
Listen, we know it's complicated, all right? Because if you have medical doctors and those in a conference, as a conference I attended, and they can't come to an agreement on it, except to know that they have some deaths from it, okay? But listen, the sheriff gonna have to open up besides juvenile court and the juvenile, we might have to open up something in the middle if this thing keep going on. So I think that our getting ahead of it, and hopefully that, because, when we started the opioid epidemic, we were one of the first ones to file in that lawsuit, okay? And so now those are being paid off for us, and we are plaintiffs in that, and we are gonna get some things done, and so we're gonna have to decide what we're gonna do with those opioid funds soon. But I think that we need to be aware. See, now, Director brought even something now that's brand new to us, another threat, emerging threat, all right? So I think the adoption of these resolutions, and no matter how complicated they are, let's take the one person dying is too many, all right? And so that's why we're there. Anything else, Chief? Anything else, John?
No, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
I'd like to commend Commander Sarhat. We did a investigation on one of my officers that was bringing drugs into the jail. And not only did that come about, but then an extra person that was involved in it, and I think they indicted him already. They've indicted him he was on probation, had guns in his house and had drugs in his house, and he was already on probation on a leg monitor. So I appreciate all the help from CNT. We did our preliminary investigation, then when they got outside of my jail, we turned it over to him, and they did one heck of a job. I just want to thank him for doing that.
All right, that's what we call one Chatham, working together, all right? Thank you, sirs. All right, we're going to the action calendar. No one expressed any desires to remove anything, so may I have a motion to accept the action calendar's entirety?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
There's a second?
I'll second that motion.
Properly motion and second that we accept the action calendar's entirety. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your vote. Did we clear it yet? Clear it? All right, now, cast your votes. Commissioner Whiteley, how do you, all right?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
just a
sir.
quick point of information.
Sure.
In the report, some of these establishments are not being reflected in the new districting. So I just want to kind of make note of that. Like Ruby Tuesdays and Cracker Barrel are in the 6th district now.
Okay, all right.
But so I just wanted to share that. So just for future reference for our petitioners as well as staff.
All right. All right, we don't have any first readers or second readers. Now we go to information. Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I just want to again remind the board that of our strategic planning workshop on the 22nd here in the chambers at noon. And also, we want to provide you information that today we'll be sending out a press release letting the citizens know that at our NACO Legislative Conference, President Winfrey appointed Commissioner Stone to the NACO National Commission on Mental Health and Wellness. And we'd like to applaud her for that, and she is representing us well. So we're going to be sending that press release out today.
Okay.
And what time is the meeting?
It's at noon.
Noon. And also, also note too that at NACO, which is the National Organization for Counties, all right, there is a whole lot of conversation about mental health and about about in children, all right, and adolescents. And so we're going to be working with the juvenile court on some issues that came up at NACO and some funding opportunities where we can get the right persons in place for treatment of our folks who are having problems. You know, when you hear that a middle school child was being bullied and some other things, and her mental illness caused her to take her life. You know, now it's time for us to stop sitting around and start doing something, all right? I'm all for studies, but studies need to lead to action. And so now we need to get into the action phase of helping our children cope with this. Anything else, Mr. Manager? There is a need for us to go into executive sessions for appointments, litigation, and acquisition. All right, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any unreadiness? Please vote. All right. We're in the executive session.
Yes.